Hi, Papen here, and this is a small tutorial about synthesis inside Bluetooth and about the XY pad. If you go to the bank manager, we have here a bank which is called examples at the very low end. Here it is. And in the first row you see some examples in synthesis, so FM synthesis on preset 1, but also an example on, for instance, here on regular subtractive synthesis. Well, let's take the first one. We can see that is FM synthesis combination, and if we go down here we see the algorithm page, and the algorithm page arranges how the oscillators are connected to each other. Well, these are all presets, so you can go from one to another connection, and these are all presets. Well, new in Bluetooth is that we have the matrix, but keep in mind if you go from algorithm to matrix, it is taken over. The matrix is totally free, so if you change anything here and go back to the algorithm, it is lost. So keep that in mind. So what we can see here is that the oscillators are connected to each other. And with FM synthesis, each oscillator has its own volume envelope. So C, D, and E modulate F. Well, if I go to the envelope page, you also can see that E has its own volume envelope, and you open this volume envelope by opening the amount. So if the amount is 0, it's a normal oscillator. If you open the amount to 100%, it means that it controls the volume of oscillator E. So this is in a nutshell how the oscillators are connected to each other. And as said, we also have in this manager an example of subtractive, two oscillators subtractive. We'll go back to the algorithm screen and we can see that all the oscillators have go out. So this means that they don't modulate each other. And we see that here oscillator A and B have a saw waveform, and as destination we choose filter A, which is a 24 dB low pass filter. So this is more the subtractive setup, and keep in mind with subtractive the oscillators always keep on sounding, so the subtractive oscillator doesn't have its own volume envelope. So here we see that oscillator A has the amount to 0. This means that oscillator A continues plays like a regular subtractive synthesizer. Give them a try. This is a whole range of setups. Also a setup with the wave shaping or phase distortion. And new is here the vector preset. Well, two presets you maybe already know from the introduction bank, but the vector live means that the vector is used with a live setup or live movement. So here you can see that there's no recorded movement, but you have to do it live with your mouse to go from one to another. So this is great if you do this by a mouse, but also the option you have is to MIDI latch it. So if you have an external MIDI controller, you can MIDI latch this also by using the right mouse button. It's down here. There's a menu which is called latch X to MIDI or latch Y to MIDI. So this movement, which is done now by my mouse, can be done also by an XY pad or by simply two faders or two dials. So this is the live mode, and the vector is on here, and this means that it is moving between the volumes of oscillator A, B, C and D. Well, the oscillator E and F, because Bluetooth has 6 oscillators, are not used in this vector synth mode. Back to the manager, we can see that, for instance, this preset, vector and XY pad, makes a nice combination. So the first oscillators, in this case B, C and D, are used with the vector, and E and F are simply normal oscillators. So let's check the XY pad. We can see a circle. So when I shut down E and F, you only hear B, C, and D. But that's a nice feature, that you have still in total 6 oscillators, even if you have the vector synth active. So the first 4 oscillators do this moving thing, and the other oscillators, which are E and F, are just regular oscillators. Let's play them solo. Now you hear them solo. Okay, let me show you a little trick, which is a little hidden gem inside Bluetooth. Because we have here, if you go over this oscillator and use the right mouse button, you have all kind of features. If you have a very nice setting in your oscillator, you can copy it to another oscillator, as you can see, or swap it between the other oscillator in case you like to have a combination. What I did to build this preset is I had essentially a pad sound which was E and F, but these both oscillators were on A and B. So what I did is copy these A and B to E and F, which made that I had the other 4 oscillators A, B, C, and D free for the vector. So click here, right mouse button, all kind of interesting functions. So as you notice, Bluetooth has some hidden gems. Okay, another preset is this over that tone XY, and this one is also a live thing. So if I go to the XY pad, you can see that we don't have the vector active now, but we have 2 parameters addressed, which one is the filter A frequency, which is on the Y movement, so the vertical movement, and on the horizontal movement we have the filter A resonance, which is on the X movement, the horizontal movement. So if I move it down, up and down, it changes the cutoff frequency, this one. If I go to the right, you get more resonance. Okay, to record this movement inside your music host program, you have to MIDI latch it. So address 2 faders or 2 dials to this XY field, and it's down here. You don't see it in the screen capture, but it's MIDI latch to Y and MIDI latch to the X. Okay, another example in this bank is Moondance. And Moondance is the XY is controlling the FX, because that is also possible. We can see here the XY, and you don't see anything addressed here, and no vector synth also. But if you go to the FX part itself, you can see we have 4 FX in total, and FXC has a ring modulation and a high quality reverb. And down here we have the matrix, and the vector X controls how much mix of this ring modulation is added to the sound. So the more I move to, with the X section of the XY pad, the more ring modulation is added. And in FXT, we use the vector Y to control the mix of the reverb. So if I change the Y movement, the reverb mix changes. So let's listen to it. I'll shut down oscillator A. We only have oscillator B, which has a wave sequencing. Now I go to the XY. More in the room. This is the Y movement. If I go more to the right, you get this ring modulation. More to the left. This is the normal sound without ring modulation, and I'll go to the right. So this is very cool. Let's place back the other waveform. And I also addressed, by the way, the modulation wheel to the second filter. The wave sequencing goes to filter B. It's a high pass filter. And when I open the modulation wheel, you hear that the percussion things fade away a bit. It's always cool to use the modulation wheel. And next to that, we have this XY pad. Okay, the XY pad, there's much to tell about it. This is a very small video to show you a few of these examples I added. Maybe in the future I'll make more an extensive version about the XY pad. Well, we have this preset, Vector Play, which is an automated. We recorded the movement and we can make it visible here. Well, we have all kind of settings down here, which is looping the movements, synchronize it to a bar or whatever you like. As told in the introduction movie, we have also the option to control the speed of it. For this we use the pitch band. But there's also this option that we quantize the points in visibility. So if you want to add it, this is it's very nice. You can make it 16 points for editing. And you always can go back to the original 128 points. Okay, there's another preset which is called Move Y Live. When I go to this one, you can see that I addressed semi-8 1 of oscillator 1, so it changes with a depth of plus 24 semitones. It changes the pitch. Well, this is a very good one to show you how the XY works, and I show it now with the Y movement. So when I go to the middle, I have the original pitch because I do mute here. So this is central. So the movement of the semi-A, which is in total 24 semitones, if I'm in the middle, it's neutral. And when I go up, it goes this 24 steps up. And when I go from the 0 point to downwards, it goes down 24 semitones. So this is how the XY pad is laid out. So this in the middle, it's neutral. Okay, one thing which is also added here is the thing about the recordings and the quantizing things inside of it. Well, if you check this preset Vector Play, which is also in the introduction bank, you can see that it has this movement, and you can quantize it to 1 bar. You can quantize the points so that you can edit a bit easier, which is more for editing. It's non-destructive, so if you go to 4 points, you always can go back to 128. What is a bit harder to understand is the space quantize and time quantize, the difference between them. So I made 2 presets to display this. It's the space quantize preset and the time quantize preset. Space quantize, when I play this one, you can see it's a movement from down to up. Well, it's also in the Y movement semitone A, and in the X movement it's set to the filter A frequency. And what you can hear is that at this spot, the frequency opens very shortly. So this whole movement, which is one vertical line with this side thing, is simply chopped space quantized by 8. So this movement is simply chopped in 8 segments. And you can hear that on this moment that the filter opens. While the difference with the other quantize, the time quantize, is that it makes really 8 notes steps from it. So it ignores this movement because it goes in 8 steps. So listen to this one. So you notice it's completely ignored because it takes 1/8 note time quantize steps. Back to the space quantize. You can see here again the cutoff frequency opening very shortly. Well, it's a bit tricky, this space quantize and time quantize. Just experiment with it, and yeah, very often you run into a very interesting sound by simply changing one of these settings here. Okay, another trick, the last trick I like to show you, is this preset, Resize movement. Let's say you have a preset which has a very nice XY movement. But you found the movement a bit too big. So let's see, let's shut down the oscillator F. You only hear now A, B, C, D. Well, we have some nice functions. Go to the right mouse button, or what you can do is go here to the control, and here we have all kind of functions. And one which is very nice is, for instance, scale XY. Well, with scale XY, the menu pops up. You can say, okay, make this movement 50% in size. Well, as you can hear, this sound is a bit different because it moves very different from one to the other. It's a bit less extreme. And instead of drawing it yourself, because you see it's a lot of points, well, we have simply a lot of functions here which you can apply to the movements you did yourself. Okay. So check out the last version of Bluetooth. We added some new sounds, but this bank, this example bank, is added with some examples about the XY pad, but also some other examples of preset and showing the synthesis types.